everybody, it's Herb Stevens, the skiing weatherman, with the first installment of the new year of Weather Weenies, coming to you from the back of my Ford Flex in the parking lot of Windham Mountain in the Catskills of New York. Windham's celebrating their 50th anniversary this year. They got a big party planned for the 22nd and the 23rd. Let's talk about where the weather's going to go in preparation for that party and for the rest of the United States in the next couple of weeks. Well, the primary feature, oddly enough, in the weather for the lower 48 this winter has actually been a low, an upper level low, way out here about, 750 miles or so west of the Washington-Oregon coast. This feature has been sitting here and spinning, and it's been energizing the northern branch of the jet stream, sending storms into the Pacific Northwest, into the northern and central Rockies, and those regions are enjoying a banner year when it comes to snowfall, and that will continue because this low pressure center, whether it's offshore or closer to the shore, it's consistent with a La Nina winter. We are in a La Nina. The other thing that's consistent in a La Nina winter is that the southern branch of the jet stream, the one that comes out of the tropics, this baby's a dud. And it's been a dud most of this year. It's actually gotten together with the northern branch just one time of note, and that produced the blizzard along the eastern seaboard about 2 weeks ago. But this southern branch, because the water out here in the tropical Pacific is colder than normal, this jet stream is going to stay quiet most of the winter, and most of the action is going to come out of the northern branch of the jet. So these short waves keep coming ashore and bringing the snow to the west. Well, they keep going. And when they propagate into the Great Lakes, see if I can draw an arrow there, and further east, they tend to ride basically west to east. We call these Alberta Clippers because very often they swing up into Alberta province here in southern Canada, and then they strengthen, and then they come southeast, and they generally bring light snow to the Great Lakes and to the eastern United States. You're going to see this late in the week of the 3rd of January, and by that time, a very strong short wave will have moved into the east, and at the same time, an upper level low that has been over north central Canada. It's known as the polar vortex. That's where the coldest weather on our side of the globe is concentrated in the wintertime. That polar vortex is going to sink southward into the eastern Great Lakes and help spin up a little more strength out of the short wave. It's not going to produce a big snowstorm in the east, with a possible exception of eastern New England, because when the short wave gets to the coast about Saturday and the polar vortex is dropping in, this will spin up a storm and send it up into the Maritimes of Canada. So Maine and eastern New England, I think, are at risk for some pretty significant snow over the course of the upcoming weekend. Otherwise, these short waves are just going to keep on coming, and light snow is going to fall from the upper Midwest into the eastern Great Lakes and into the Northeast. So the firm conditions that resulted from last weekend's thaw, which included a little bit of rain followed by seasonably cold weather, those firm conditions are going to soften up over the next several days as light snow continues to fall in the mountains primarily, and in addition there'll be a good snowmaking effort going on just about everywhere. In terms of a big snow event, the next one that has some potential will come along about the middle of next week, because there's an upper low not as big as the one well west of Washington and Oregon, but it's been sitting off the California coast much of this past week. It's going to propagate eastward in the southern branch. Not a particularly strong feature, but it might be strong enough to hook up with a short wave in the northern branch of the jet stream along about Monday or Tuesday and start to generate snow in the Midwest, and that swath will continue into the east Tuesday and Wednesday, with the outside possibility that a surface storm, once this whole feature reaches the coast, it might get strong enough and head northeast and bring substantial snow to the northeastern United States. Of most importance, once that system goes by, whether it goes out to sea or it turns up the coast, the cold air associated with the polar vortex is going to be in place. It's going to be cold here, and a change is going to take place actually off this map. This low west of the Washington-Oregon coast is actually going to retrograde, and a ridge is going to pop up into Alaska. What that's going to do is actually tap into some very cold air in Siberia, bring it down through western Canada into the plain states, and from there it's going to spread out across the country, so that by the time we get to about the 15th to 20th of this month, most of the United States is going to be pretty darn cold. And in terms of snowfall, once you have the cold air in place, anything can happen, but I would look for additional short waves to come in and bring some light to moderate snow to the west in the next couple of weeks, The east is just going to be primarily cold after that big snow threat that I think is going to be on the cards or in the cards early next week. But overall, for the next couple of weeks, cold air is going to dominate, first with the polar vortex in the east, then with the ridge popping into the Gulf of Alaska, tapping into the Siberian air, bringing it down into the continental 48. This is very atypical, mind you, for the month of January in a La Nina. Usually, you have a sizable ridge in the southeastern United States in a La Nina. That hasn't shown its face yet. I'm not so sure it will, and that's because of some solar factors that I'll make a point to explain those next week. But once this low is replaced by the ridge, when it reforms, I think we're going to see it reform close to the west coast. That's a typical midwinter La Nina position for a trough, and that means later in January into February, the snows are really going to pick up again in the central and northern Rockies. So overall, the picture's good, and as long as we don't form this southeastern ridge, even the ski areas in the southern Appalachians will continue with a banner season. They've gotten off to a very fast start, and without that ridge, that can continue. That's it in a very large nutshell. I'm Herb Stevens from Ski Windham. Be sure to check out the videos on snowcountry.com of this week's Skiing Weatherman Report. And thanks for checking in with the Weather Weenies.